Fantasy season is here. The NFL has begun, and it is time, everybody. The Fantasy Couriers are proud to be partnered with Underdog Fantasy, the most amazing, greatest daily fantasy sports site. You might have done all their best ball games during the offseason. I have friends that did dozens and dozens and dozens and are still talking about them. Now we're in season, and it is time for Pick'em. You can pick player stats. You can pick highs or lows of various stats within a game. It is an exciting time. You can stack them. There are specials throughout the season that will make the game even more exciting. And to make things better, Underdog Fantasy has an exclusive offer for new customers. Claim your mystery pickup and get a 100% deposit match up to $100 now by signing up on Underdog using the code COURIERS. Once you make that first deposit, head to the Pick'em lobby and find out which player special you get. If you're already a customer, share the code COURIERS to support our amazing podcast so that we can continue to grow with Underdog and have a blast in season with you. Now, on to the show.
What is happening, fellow fantasy GMs? I am JJ Wang. He is the bearded one, DJ Dub. And with our powers combined, we are the Fantasy Couriers.
JJ Wang, we are in the books for 2. It is time for week 3. Week 3 begins. Dude, I need you to pick me up out of the dumps. I've got some stellar teams. I'm talking top of the line: Christian McCaffrey, Jamar Chase, Travis Kelce, Josh Allen team that's 0-2. And then in our big dynasty league, my team, is pretty good with Kelce. Kelce, Tua's playing well, Lamar, just Derrick Henry, and I'm 0-2 there. I'm having that tough luck year. Well, any ray of hope here for me?
I mean, I would say I feel bad for you and I wish you the best, but I mean, honestly, I don't feel bad for you and I really don't wish you the best. I mean, I don't want to sound rude. I wish I could be more positive and say, hey, man, I really hope things turn around, but I can't really say that that's true. But yeah, I mean, your players are there. It's just like I said, the other team might be other players might just be a little better at that point. But like I said, this is this happens. That happens to everybody, no matter how good of a fantasy player you are or how good of a team you think you have. This is what happens.
It's devastating, but not as devastating as in our league, where my starting running backs in our dynasty league are Nicholas Chubb and Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I mean, especially both of them at the same time. Probably your backups. I'm not going to say backups are probably good, but they're probably not elite. I mean, anytime you're dropping 2 top 10 running backs, potentially top 5 running backs, that is a big, big, big blow to any football team.
It's tough. I have a ton of receivers, so I just got to do some maneuvering. But nobody trades running backs. That's the hardest part in football.
You can, I mean, you can trade I'll trade a bad one, but
I might take a bad one at this point.
Well, I mean, when you're in the middle of the season and you think you can win, you'd have to be an absolute fool to trade a running back because they go down. Like, just look how valuable someone like Jerome Ford is right now. I mean, I know they did sign Kareem Hunt. That is true, but I don't know. I'm not really. Kareem Hunt's just there, I think, just for a back. Because, I mean, Jerome Ford looked pretty good.
He did look good. That was going to be my first question. And I've been reading, trying to figure out what to do with Kareem Hunt this week because I was prepping articles to put for the expert advice for Fantasy Couriers. I was going to write about Ford and Hunt, but I decided not to.
You know what I'm doing with him?
What?
You know what I'm doing with him? I'm gonna leave him on the I'm gonna leave him on the waiver wire. That's what I'm gonna do.
I've got both of them in some places because if I don't pick up Hunt or I got space, he's going to end up being the RB1 there. I mean, they gave him $4 million for a year. They're going to play him. I think to be honest, it's probably going to end up being a committee. Would you agree mostly with that, or are you on the Jerome Ford side? You sound like you may be 40.
Well, at this point with Kareem Hunt, like 42 years old, I mean, he played decent, but you see there towards the end, I mean, he wasn't the same Kareem Hunt that we was used to. I mean, and Jerome Ford's younger. I mean, he looks good in his, coming in from,
He's so
filling
good
in for
at Cincinnati.
So I mean, he would play. Yeah, like you said, he was really good in Cincinnati. He's a young running back. You gotta give him his shot. And I mean, if he performed well, I feel like he earned his shot. I think Kareem Hunt's just there in case Jerome Ford fails. They got a backup plan. But if Ford's running, I mean, give him the keys to the car and let it go, bud.
Pierre Strong.
I mean, maybe. I mean, why can't Pierre
Hunt might
Strong
hurt
be like?
Pierre Strong more, don't you think?
Yeah, I think Kareem Hunt maybe does hurt Strong more than Hunt or Ford, because I mean, just Hunt knows the offense pretty well. I mean, he's been there a long time, so he knows what the deal is. He's a good third down back, but I don't see him any more than a point or two.
That's why I see a lot of it coming back. With Barkley, are you picking up Matt? For,
No,
do I have to pick up Matt Breida?
I
Tell
mean,
me
I
no,
get it.
or do I just play an empty spot?
I mean, might
The
as well
Giants
just
are
play
bad.
it. Might as well just play an empty spot. I mean, Matt Breed is okay, but I think that I'm not. I think there's other running backs there too, maybe. But I mean, it's Matt Breida. He's a little dude. I mean, he is effective from time to time. He is fast. He gets injured here and there, but not excited for Matt Breida. I'm about as excited for Matt Breida as I am about Kareem Hunt.
I think I'm more excited for Kareem Hunt than Matt Breida. It's the
I ain't
Giants.
excited. Not
They
excited for either
barely
one.
beat the terrible Cardinals. Probably the other big one to really monitor. This could change, but depending upon when you listen to our podcast, Anthony Richardson got his head jiggled last week, and he's still in concussion protocol as of midweek before the games are coming out. If Richardson doesn't play, would you spot start Minshew, or how does that affect your starting of Minshew, Pittman, and Moss?
Oh, I mean, I think it actually probably maybe helped Pittman a little bit. I feel like they'll throw the ball more. So I don't know if Minshew and Pittman have that kind of receiver quarterback style that meshes together. I'm not really sure, but I mean, I think they're going to throw more. Minshew's a lot. I mean, a valuable backup quarterback. I mean, he's not good for a whole year, but those first 5 6 games, I mean, they're usually pretty good. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a positive for everybody on the team, really.
Oh, intriguing to see. And you're a Richardson guy, though, aren't you? Aren't you a Richardson guy?
I like
Yeah.
Richardson. I mean, I got nothing against it. I mean, he's better. He's
Yeah, I'm
better
not
than I
against him.
thought.
I'm just
He's better than I thought he was going to be.
yeah. And I said prior to recording that I got some trades in one of my league. They wanted to see what the Couriers would think, and the trade starts twofold. Number one, would you ever trade for a defense ever in the history of fantasy football? Trade starting running back and a starting receiver for a good defense, a really good defense.
No, never.
So it starts off with the Dallas Cowboys. The second coming of the Chicago Bears
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
were traded away for Khalil Herbert and Jerry Jeudy.
Well, I don't mind Khalil Herbert. I don't really. I mean, that Khalil Herbert's just a piece. I don't think I could trade. I mean, you know how much I like
You love
Jerry
Jeudy.
Judy. There's no way I could trade. The defense is playing really well and they're scoring a lot of points. But I just, I mean, what was it New England that one year that had like that averaged like 20 points a game, 25,
Yeah, I
something
had him
crazy
that
like
year. It
that.
was nice.
But I mean, it's possible, but I just can't. Well, I couldn't do it. I mean, I traded for Khalil Herbert, like the Cowboys for Khalil Herbert at a heartbeat. Absolutely.
But yeah, sorry. Well, and then this led to trade part two. So the guy that got Judy then traded CD Lamb, Joe Mixon, and Jerry Judy away. I already like all those guys, but they got in return Chris Olave, okay, James Conner, and Zach Moss.
I mean, I feel like Joe Mixon and James Conner can kind of
Yep.
fill their careers will probably be the same.
Yep.
CeeDee Lamb, Chris Olave. I mean, there's potential there where they can
Mm-hmm.
kind of even out, but I don't see a world where Judy equals Zach Moss. I mean, now granted, this year it might turn out where Zach Moss over these next couple of weeks, and if Jonathan Taylor doesn't come back, he actually might end up scoring more points than Judy. I mean, there's a world where I can see that happening. But I mean, you know how much I like Judy. I just couldn't do that.
Yeah, I told them this is shout out to Kicker People's Two League. This is basically the only qualm I really had was Zach Moss for Jerry Judy. Basically, is how they balance there, and I'm like, Zach Moss. Everything I'm reading or the way the signs are pointing is Zach Moss is not going to be a starting running back in 2 weeks. It sounds like the heels aren't as dug in as they initially might have been with with the PUP list because Jonathan Taylor is at Colts facility trading. So maybe everybody has, argued over who is the alpha male and they both gave up and they're going to both give in and just shut their mouths and play football is sort of how I'm feeling and hearing. So that's what got me on that trade. I was like, Zach
Well, I
Moss.
mean, if Jonathan Taylor comes back, is that really the Colts giving in, or is that Jonathan Taylor giving in?
Um, if Jonathan Taylor comes back, he's giving in, but I think he's also gonna go, oh wait, running backs aren't a diddly squat. And if I want to get a job next year, I gotta look really good this year.
Oh,
So that's the
that's why Jonathan Taylor can't afford to
yep.
not play. I mean, the Colts can afford to play without Jonathan Taylor. I mean, it sucks for them, but Jonathan Taylor's in a worse position where you got to perform to get, you want to get paid, you got to perform.
Yeah. So this week as we're going through
Game by game preview.
as we're going through the games this week, I'm gonna take a little look at how the landscape of the fantasy world is changing. So I'm going to highlight a couple guys as we go through a handful of games that are in different places and the lasting impact you think they might have in those places. Very briefly for the Thursday night game, because some people might listen to this Thursday. We got a bunch of listeners Thursday of last week. Would you start anybody on the New York Giants this week versus the 49ers?
Probably not, but I mean, I would start Daniel Jones. I mean, Daniel Jones is a starting quarterback. You got to start. There's not too many leagues where you got Daniel Jones and he's not your QB1. So I feel like you got to start Daniel Jones. He might be terrible, but I mean, you got to start him.
And if, say, Ayuk doesn't go, he's a true game time decision. How high up does that move Debo? Does that make him an wide receiver 1, borderline 2?
I think he can flirt with wide receiver 1 numbers because there's not, like I said, there's really no options. And Samuel had a pretty decent. Yeah, I could see wide receiver 1 possible.
Crazy stat. We both love Eli Mitchell, and I guess they don't. Christian McCaffrey played 100% of the snaps last week. Anyway, it's crazy.
Oh yeah, why would he not?
I wouldn't. So he doesn't get hurt is always your thing. So we're going to Sunday's games. We have the Colts versus the Ravens. The changing landscape here is Zay Flowers is getting some toe, but Mark Andrews is really jumping back in the game. Is this make you feel more comfortable with Lamar going forward, having his man there, even though he lost his running back and the receivers and Odell's going to be a game time? Do you feel more comfortable with Lamar now going forward, or?
Well, yeah, because Lamar Jackson's like whenever he's like the number 1 QB. I mean, Mark Andrews is out there catching 100 yards and touchdowns all over the place, and then you throw in Zay Flowers. I mean, I don't know what kind of players they. I feel like Zay Flowers is more that in between kind of guy. As far as like where he catches the ball, at maybe him and Andrews might occupy the same area. Maybe I have no idea. But I mean, an extra receiver that is effective can only make things better for Lamar Jackson. And Zay Flowers has been pretty effective so far.
You know who I have like a feeling about him? He has that feeling of Lockett. Tyler Lockett in Seattle, like sort of that feel of like his career could go like that, like sort of. I don't know why. There's something about him that just feels like it could end up being a comparison we make in the long term.
He'll be a lucky guy if he does. If it does,
yeah. Titans versus the Browns. Ugh. Do you want to watch that game?
No. Derrick Henry was absent from practice today too. So if that happens, I mean, it's going to be dreadful. Actually, I don't mind if Derrick Henry doesn't miss because then we get to see. We got Tajay Spears. We get to maybe see how Tajay Spears does. But yeah, I want Derrick Henry to play. He'll probably.
I got 2 Derrick Henry. So just out of would you rather start Ryan Tannehill or Deshaun Watson?
Oh God, this might be the one quarterback that I pick over Ryan Tannehill. I think these might be the 2 worst quarterbacks. Throw Jimmy Garoppolo in there. I don't think I can make a decision. You know what? I'm gonna go Ryan Tannehill just because Deshaun Watson is just awful right now.
And he's making himself look like an even more terrible human being. Let's say in a crazy world, Derrick Henry doesn't play. Tajay Spears or Jerome Ford in your DFS lineup?
I'll go Jerome Ford for the moment. Still like to see how Tajay Spears plays with. I need to see some. I mean, he's been kind of effective. He's on the field, so I mean, I think they like him, but I want to see like a play or something, maybe like a half or a quarter where he's effective before I go starting him anywhere.
And keep an eye on that Browns defense if you got defensive leagues, because I mean the Steelers really only scored 10 points. The rest of
Oh
it
yeah.
was, Deshaun Watson giving them touchdowns. So
They got Myles Garrett. That guy's a freak.
he's a monster. The 2-0 Atlanta Falcons versus the Detroit Lions, who puttered at the end, versus the Seattle Seahawks. Jahmyr Gibbs has the backfield to himself. Do you think he's going to get running back one totes, or are they going to mess with us and throw in some Craig Reynolds this week?
I think they're going to throw in Craig Reynolds. I think they like what they were doing with Montgomery and Gibbs. I mean, Gibbs might get a few more carries, but I still think you're going to see quite a bit of Craig Reynolds. I don't think they want to unleash Jahmyr Gibbs' full DeAndre Swift workload yet.
You probably drafted Drake London if you had him fairly high, not super duper high, but you might have got Josh Reynolds off of the waiver wire. He's looked amazing. 14% catch share of the offense, target share. Which one of these guys would you start this week? You've got to start Drake London, but are you thinking about
Drake London? I can't.
I love
I
Drake
can't
London.
start Josh Reynolds. I mean, Josh Reynolds is good, maybe from time to time, but
been great this year.
I mean, overall, like a career, it's usually more fail than success. But Drake London's kind of about the same thing at this point. But I mean, I like Drake London better, and I feel like I drafted him, and it's only week 3. I can't be going drafting people that people that I took high and already be setting them. And yet, Drake London had a decent game last week.
So we're gonna jump down to the Saints versus the Packers. This could be a battle of fledgling running backs. I was getting ready to look up Aaron Jones. I missed looking him up before. Have you heard? Is he?
Not sure.
He misses practice. He's missing practice still. So let's just go. He could play. So keep an eye on that as you're going to the season. But we could have a week where there's no Jamal Williams, no Aaron Jones, Alvin Kamara. This is his last week off. So if you can get him, see what happens, because Jamal's out. That's going to help Alvin Kamara. So you got possibly Kendre Miller making his NFL debut. I actually wrote an article for him this week about possibly being my sleeper. You got Tony Jones coming off the scrap heap of the practice squad, and you got AJ Dillon. If your team is like my cruddy team where I lost all those running backs and I have to start one of those 3 guys, who would you start?
I'd probably go AJ Dillon, because if Aaron Jones doesn't play, we've already seen AJ Dillon get the workload. I mean, he's their guy. No, but I don't think Kendre Miller or Tony Jones either are going to carry the ball more than 8 times. I mean, I don't think they're going to come in and be like Kendre Miller, 25 carries, Tony Jones, 25 carries. I really don't see that happen. I got more faith in the volume in AJ Dillon than I do with Kendre Miller and Tony Jones.
I'm thinking Miller. I got him as my bold prediction. I think because he's gonna come out of nowhere because he hasn't played, debut with the hammy, and then get all the totes. It's a bold prediction. You never know. So you got the 0-2 Houston Texans, who are killing it on passing last week. Did you know that CJ Stroud was the top passer last week? How crazy is that? Versus the Jaguars, Calvin Ridley, who we drafted a little higher, or Nico Collins, who's consistently been better.
I still can't start Calvin Ridley over Nico Collins in any world.
You got that backwards. You said that backwards.
Well, how about you? I'll start Calvin Ridley over Nico Collins all the time. But I mean, I am excited about Nico Collins. This is what we kind of been. I mean, I ended up with one share. I mean, I've maintained one place where I still have him. So I mean, yeah, it's exciting, but I'm still not ready to say Nico Collins is better than Calvin Ridley yet.
I've got.
But give me a week. Give me a week or two, and it's very possible.
All these questions could change in a few weeks. Just still too early in the season to plant that flag.
If Trevor Lawrence keeps playing like he does, it's only going to take like a week for me to change my mind.
Okay, we are at the premier game of the week, the Denver Broncos versus your Miami Dolphins. This game's going to be terrible, right?
I mean,
it should be.
It's probably, I see it being more like the New England game than the Chargers game, I would say. I think it's going to be more of a low-scoring game for both teams. Really? Probably more run. I mean, I don't want to say more run, but I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. But I don't think it's going to be all that exciting.
Waddle got his noggin knocked, so it might be the Tyreek show, the River Craycraft show, a bunch of schmucks after Tyreek, so he could get.
Did you say it might? Did you say it might be the Tyreek show?
It might be it will be the Tyreek show, even if Waddle's there. Although Waddle might have had more yards last week. It was close because they just ran the ball because New England let them.
Well, wouldn't
Russ,
you?
yeah. Russell Wilson, is he a quarterback? I mean, he is a quarterback one right now. Are you playing him as a quarterback one?
Probably not, because I probably didn't draft him as a quarterback. Well, I didn't draft him as a quarterback one. Hopefully, I got a better quarterback. But yeah,
Well,
I
I drafted him
drafted
as a one
Russell.
in our
Yeah, I
auction
mean, you
league.
might have. I mean, Russell Wilson's, one of the top QB2s. But like if you're a super flex, you're probably, I mean, obviously you're going to start him. And in one QB league, I mean, there's a world where you got a better quarterback than Russell Wilson. So I mean, you don't have to. I think you don't have to start Russell Wilson.
Mostert killed it. Javante, meh. You got to start one of them.
Mostert and Javon, I'd probably go Mostert.
So, okay. The 0-2 Chargers versus the 0-2 Vikings. I would have never seen that. I would have had that opposite. But anyway, so one of these teams is going to be 0-3 in a week. How sad is that for two growing teams? Alexander Madison's looked absolutely terrible. The studs are the studs for the Vikings. The receivers are looking great. The quarterback, Kirk Cousins, in some formats, is the number one quarterback in the NFL right now, which is awesome. The Chargers have Joshua Kelly, who pooped the bed last week. Eckler is still up in the air. Is Alexander Madison or Joshua Kelly a better start this week? I mean, you don't
Oh,
want to play either.
that's a good question, but I'm not impressed with Alexander Madison. Never have been, and at least Josh Kelly has shown something this year. Madison really hasn't shown me really, you know, hey, I'm the guy here. So I'm still starting Josh Kelly over Alexander Madison.
Patriots at the Jets. This game's going to be terrible.
That's a very good chance.
Brees Hall had 4 carries last week for 9 yards. He had 1 carry that was 9 yards total, so 3 carries for 0 yards. Would you rather start Brees Hall or Ramondre Stevenson against the Jets defense this week?
Oh man, I'd probably
You're
still go
starting them both,
Ramon.
right? I mean, honestly,
Yeah,
you're
I'm
starting them
probably
both.
you can start them both. But I mean, if say this was my flex spot because my team is so good, I'd probably go Ramondre because I got more faith in his touches than I do with Brees Hall at the moment. They gave Brees Hall, now granted, they didn't run the ball very much
Yeah,
because
good for.
the Cowboys defense just absolutely trounced them and they didn't have a chance. But there's Brees Hall's got to be better than Zach Wilson throwing.
Yeah, oh, I lied earlier. The Kendre Miller thing, that was the sleepers. Brees Hall was my bold prediction of the week, that after what Mostert did to the Patriots, he's gonna be mad because he got 4 carries and he's gonna be a top 5 running back this week. So I'm going Brees Hall. If you're looking for a tight end that he's still floating on waiver wires. He's been stellar so far. Is Hunter Henry?
Yeah, he's been surprisingly good. Mac Jones has been surprisingly decent.
That's all you need.
Yeah, it's all you. I mean, in the fantasy world in which we live, I'm like confident in starting Mac Jones as my QB2 at this point. You know, if I'm going to be like, hey, I got Mac Jones as QB. Okay, I mean, I'm not expecting QB1 numbers, but I mean, I know there might be a chance, and I know it's probably not going to completely crap on me.
Yeah, I mean, think about if you have Mac Jones as your QB, that means you have like Jefferson, and you got a
Yeah.
stud team there. So,
Yep.
okay, the Bills versus the Manders. One of these teams is 2-0. One of these teams is 1-1. That's the hilarious part of this entire situation. Your team is 2-0. The Manders there. Brian Robinson, who, depending upon the rankings, is like as high as like number 3 running back on the year. Is this the week that Brian Robinson falls back to earth, followed by Brian Robinson or James Cook?
I can't say this is when he falls back to earth because it seems like he's getting he's getting pretty much all the work. So I mean, he looks good out there. He's performing. And the Commanders are playing pretty good football. Other than that first quarter, the first quarter was dreadful. But after that, I mean, they managed to come back. They were down. They were down 21-3, and Brian Robinson still had a monster game. Usually, when you're down 21-3, the running back disappears.
They have 10 carries, right? 10 catches.
Yes, 10 catches.
10 targets. I'll pull it up while you're doing it.
But so I don't see a world where Brian Robinson disappears. I don't really see a world where the Bills blow out the Commanders. It's going to be close, and if it's close, they're going to continue to run the ball with him because he's a big guy.
Yeah, I'm really slow in getting all the stats there, but yeah, I was like, wow, it's interesting to see that Brian Robinson has shocked. I wish I hadn't traded him away. Let's see, last week, I must have been thinking of someone else. He only had 2 receptions. I'm going bonkers. There's too many people in my brain. But yeah, he did it running. Yeah. James Cook or Brian Robinson? Brian Robinson?
Uh, that's a very tough question. I love both of these guys. I'm actually, the Bourbon Bowl actually got both of these guys, so I'm probably going to start both of them. But I think right now I'm gonna go Brian Robinson.
Is Gabe Davis finally turning it around?
I wouldn't say Gabe Davis ever turns it around because we may not. Because Gabe Davis might turn around and go back in the other direction for the next 3 weeks.
Carolina Panthers versus the Seattle Seahawks. Um, I don't even. Geno Smith looked good last week. Is Geno's Where do you have Geno Smith? I advised a guy to start Geno Smith over Deshaun. It was a very good choice.
Well, I will say I would start Geno Smith over Deshaun Watson. I
Would
will
you have
say
said
that.
that before Monday though? It was teetering at Monday. After
It was
Monday,
it was
it's
teetering.
falling.
It was close. I probably would have
I
still
said,
gone. I would have still gone Watson because it's Deshaun Watson, but I gotta go Geno Smith here.
does JSN pick it up this year, or is this gonna be a learning year for him?
I think this is going to be what JSN is. I mean, Lockett's still really good. Metcalf is still really good. I mean, he might have a game here and there or a flash here and there, a play here and there, but I don't think they're going to. He doesn't get unleashed like that this year.
Kenneth Walker, top 8 running back this week.
Negative.
I think I have him high actually. Okay, we're looking at the Cowboys 2-0 versus the Cardinals 0-2. Should we even waste our time discussing this game?
Well, this is another game where that Cowboy defensive trade might really pay off.
Yes.
They might drop another 30, 40 point game here. They do got Josh Dobbs at quarterback. So I think that game could be really, really bad. Is this the easiest schedule in the world for the Cowboys that they've got?
Yeah. Well, you go 8-8 every year. You're bound to have an easy schedule sometime.
That is true. That is true.
The Cowboys, you know that Tony Pollard in a couple formats, like standard format right now on Fantasy Pros, is the number 1 RB for the week.
I mean,
Over McCaffrey against the Giants?
I still can't start. There's never a world where I could start Pollard over McCaffrey. I don't care who.
Well, you're gonna start them both, yeah. But he's RB1 right, like literally RB1.
How can someone who gets 100% of the touches on possibly one of the best offenses in the league with one of the best offensive minds in the league, and then you got the Cowboys? I mean, I'm probably going to go Christian McCaffrey. I don't care who they're playing over every running back every time. He get 100% of the snaps. How do you get better than that?
Who would you rank higher, Tony Pollard versus Arizona or Bijan versus Detroit?
Bijan, baby.
All right, I'll move him up, and I'll even cancel it in.
I do like Pollard. I mean, don't get me. I mean, I feel like I'm crapping on Pollard.
It's the Arizona I think that's why he is so high. Is the Arizona hot mess going on?
Well,
right
I mean,
now.
I guess that is true. I can understand that, but if Arizona gets up by so much, or Cowboys get up by so much, are they even going to waste
Deuce Vaughn, maybe start some Deuce Vaughn.
Pollard's time? I mean, if they're up 30-3 in the third quarter, how many more carries is Pollard going to get?
Bears versus the Chiefs.
Oh God.
I might have to start Roschon Johnson.
Yeah.
Is that a better? Is how bad do I have to be to think this? Like he supposedly might be taking over this job soon. Pacheco or Roschon Johnson? Pacheco's not done anything great either.
I'm definitely going to go Roschon Johnson here. Honestly, I don't got Travis Kelce, but there's no faith in anybody on that Chiefs team.
They tried to feed Tony the first possession. That's all they did. Then they stopped.
Yeah,
weird.
You just don't know. You just don't know who it's going to be. So I give me a couple more weeks on that, but I would go Roschon Johnson at this point. I think there's more flash there. There's more excitement with Roschon than there is Pacheco.
Is Justin Fields a top 10 quarterback?
Not at the moment. but I think it can turn around. I mean, yeah, he's taking some bad plays, some bad sacks. I agree 100%. But I still got faith in Justin Fields. I mean, it's hard for me to say he's top 10 because he hasn't played like it. But whenever he starts, this is what happened last year. Once he started running, that's when his fantasy game took off. He just hasn't started running yet. I mean, I've seen opportunities where he's had the chance to run, but he just runs the ball straight up and takes a sack. I think last year he probably would have taken that outside and gone 70 yards to the house.
Underachiever Bowl, Sunday Night Football, Steelers versus the Raiders, or the overage. I don't know. They're both terrible. Both running games looked putrid last week. Both passing games looked putrid last week. They both had a receiver that
I
looked
got a
really good.
question. When were the Raiders ever an overachiever or at any point this year? When were they either?
Well, they have players that should. How about this way? They both have players that we thought to expect more of in fantasy football, and players you don't like. In named Jimmy Garoppolo, like Josh Jacobs, poop the bed. Najee, poop the bed.
The Raiders took a major dive when they signed Jimmy Garoppolo. All their fantasy players took a major dive when they signed Jimmy Garoppolo. And who did you just say?
All
Najee
of them.
Harris.
So not named. Let's say not Javonte, and I'm saying not Devontae Adams and not Pickens. They both have looked okay, but everybody else has been poop.
Poop.
Like straight poop. It's a poop.
Najee Harris is just like poop. Trash. I did not see this.
I got a lot of Najee Harris.
Yeah, Kenny Pickett looking like doo-doo. I mean, Fryermuth's not really all playing all that well. Yeah, they're disappointing me. I am highly disappointed in this Steelers offense.
So you're saying avoid Sunday Night Football. Okay. Again, I don't know how I missed this. There are 2 Monday night games again. I love this. Monday night game of the week, Eagles versus the Bucks, man. You got the Baker Mayfields versus some guy named Jalen Hurts. I don't know. But 2-0 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Would you? I have a trade on the board. Puka Nacua for AJ Brown.
For what?
Receiver.
So you're there. That's a ridiculous. I mean,
what would it take for that to be a valid trade? How many more weeks?
How many more weeks of what?
Of them playing like they play, Puka or AJ Brown.
I don't think I could trade AJ Brown for Puka Nacua. I just don't think I could do it. AJ Brown considered a top 5 wide receiver, while Puka Nacua has started off really, really hot. You're not even starting him yet. So
I'm starting him everywhere this week. He's everywhere.
So you go from not starting him to thinking he's as good as AJ Brown. I mean, that's kind of a stretch.
All right. Okay. Question: which receiver in this game would you start if you could only start one? So you're looking Evans, Godwin, Smith, and AJ Brown.
Devonta Smith. I think the more important question is, what does Swift do? That's the more important question.
He was my bust of the week, actually. So spoiler alert if you read the article, he's my bust of the week because
I don't think so.
Well, not because he's going to boom, not a dead bust, but because it's only if Gainwell plays. Gainwell doesn't play, Swift is fine. Swift is going to come back down to the mean because the Eagles have said they're going to basically play Chiefs football and they're going to committee it all. They are pretty adamant. They said before Swift will play some weeks he won't. Like it's going to be straight up committee, and I think
that's literally that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Well, they've said it all the time. They've proved it out. They gave Swift the ball twice. The first thing. It's an injury to give Swift the ball, and
it's literally the dumbest thing of it. I don't understand.
I was gonna say Mike Evans or AJ Brown. It's gonna be Mike Evans, right?
Right now, I can't say that. I can't put my trust into Baker Mayfield at all. But I don't. AJ Brown might have 13 catches for 203 yards on Sunday, and then all of a sudden, nobody in any world is trading AJ Brown for Puka Nacua.
Okay, Puka Nacua's Rams versus the Bengals is the nightcap on Monday night to close out the week.
So let me get this straight: Jamar Chase for Puka Nacua, straight up.
Oh, of course not. But right now, yeah, in redrafts, possibly because you're not having Joe is not looking good. So is this game like if say Joe Burrow doesn't play? What are you doing with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins? I don't even know who the back. Like I'm going to pull up who the depth chart for the. I don't even know who the backup is for them right now.
I'm still going to start him because the backups probably can't do any worse than what Joe Burrow is doing. So I mean, you're still going to start him.
Are you sure about that? Do you know who Jake Browning is?
I've heard of Jake Browning.
He's out of Washington. It's his first year. I have no clue. Yeah. That worries me. I think if that happens, Joe Mixon Wheels up, baby. Puka Nakua, over or under 10 receptions this week versus the stellar 0-2 Bungles.
I'm gonna go under.
Oh, you're thinking it breaks. And Kyron Williams, is he?
No,
Yeah, is he?
no,
I don't think
no.
he is. The numbers don't show it. And over, who does Cam Akers play for this year? Who's his next team? I've got a
I,
guess. My guess is
I,
coming, then you close this out.
I heard somebody say the Vikings earlier.
That's mine.
So
That's my guess.
it makes it would make sense. I mean, Madison sucks. So I mean, why not?
Okay, JJ Wang, I'm over here in the forest getting ready to play some basketball. Give us some wisdom for the week as we go into week 3. Everybody, if you have questions, pop them on Sunday. I'm hoping to do another couple minutes on Facebook Live Sunday. But JJ Wang, get us to the weekend.
Never fails. It's only 2 weeks in, and here we are stretching for running backs. This is why you draft running back, draft running back, draft running. We say it all the time, no matter what philosophy you take, zero RB or stud RB, you better make sure you got a lot of them because you're going to need them. So, as always, trust yourself and trust the process.